my beautiful friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Nova Gnome Creations and I'm Nova, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. Today is Thursday and I'm having kind of a planning sort of day. I actually was up most of last night figuring stuff out. I started this, which I had talked about a little bit. It's going to be a blanket. It's going to be my first time using a graph to do a blanket. So I think it's called a Graphgan. My husband wanted a, well, it was actually my idea, but he likes Imperial Fists from Warhammer. It's a Space Marine chapter, if you know anything about that stuff, which I seriously doubt that any of my viewers know anything about that stuff. I don't really know anything about that stuff other than he talks about it a lot, so I pick up on it after hearing it a lot of times. But it's one of his big passions. It's probably his biggest passion for the last year or two. So I was like wanting to make him something Imperial Fist, and you know, this isn't like a super big crochet type of item. Like, I'm not sure if I searched for patterns. I think I might have just assumed there weren't any, so there's a chance there is, but I don't think so. And I was going to try to like make a granny square. I tried to like engineer a granny square that would look like the Imperial Fist, and I realized pretty quickly that it was just going to be too detailed to fit into a granny square and be the shape I would want it to be. So I moved on to my second plan, or my second idea, which was to make a Graphgan. So that is what I'm working on, and I've just gotten to where I need to change to black for the first time and realized that I might want to figure out how I'm going to do my color changes, because I've never done a project like this. Usually when I do color changes, they're not going to be so many color changes as with a graph project. So I watched a video by Willow Z Crochet, I think it was. I will link it below just because I used it and I'm talking about it, so I'm going to put it down there. And she shows you how to like change colors when you're doing this type of project. And I knew a little bit about bobbins just because of being in crochet groups on Facebook. I see people's bobbin pictures. I had not looked into it at all because it looked very overwhelming. So, you know, of course, I started a project not even really thinking about it or knowing that this is what bobbins are used for. So, I'm gonna have to figure that out. So I'm gonna insert a clip that I just got done taking, where I was looking to figure out how many bobbins I'm going to need to do. So here is that. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I've got it nice and spread out on the wall for my viewing ease of what my pattern is. So I wanted to come over here and try to plan out where my bobbins are going to be. So when I just have one color change down there, I won't need a bobbin. I'll be able to just have my white and my black yarn. But then as soon as I start getting to the point where I'm adding in more than one color change per row, I gotta have a bobbin, which actually happens pretty early on, because like right here, these rows, since this is a circle, I'm gonna switch back to black. So pretty early on, I'm gonna be adding a black bobbin. This is a very inefficient way to do this. Okay, so basically up until I get to here, I'll be able to have two. I'll be able to have two blacks. And then when I get up to there, all the way up till here, I'll have three. Okay, how do I want to do this? It's super hard to write down here because I have stuff in front of my hand, or in front of my arm. And then this is going to be 3. And then when we get to there, oh, you know what? Okay, no, actually, I will still have 3 because I'll be working the black across. That doesn't disconnect. So actually, just pretend I didn't do that. We can stop. Stop being a little butt cheek. Okay, so then it's because of these little gaps. My mind was like, yeah, separations. So I think when we're here, we're going to have 1, 2, 3. So we're actually going to have 3 until we get to I'm looking at these rows trying to figure out if I'm going to be so it looks like probably right here, roughly. I'm going to have to add in a 4th one. Just looking at these individual rows, it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, and 4. I wonder about this gap right here, how that works with this type of thing. When you have rows that you're not using it. Actually, right here I have rows that I'm not using it too. I wonder if I carry it up still or if I disconnect here and then reconnect a couple rows later. I mean, either way, it won't change the amount of these that I'm going to need when I get to this part. But yeah, I'm not sure how that works. I'll have to figure it out. The learning process. So then when I'm up here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, up until I get to like here. And then for a while it's going to actually, or nope, it's still going to be 4. Okay. And then when I get up to the actual fingers of the fist, it's going to go up because 1, 2, and actually for a few rows right here, I'll need a whole nother one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be starting right here. I'm going to need 6. And then for a little bit, for a minute, right here, I'm going to need 7. Just drawing a little scribble so that I notice it. And then when I get up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So after this, just a few lines that I'll need 7, I'll be able to disconnect this one, I believe, and then I'll go back to having 6 again. Oops. And then when I get back up to the top, I'll be able to disconnect those, and I'll be able to just have 2, and then I'll be able to just have 1. Okay, so yeah, you just saw that I'm gonna need 6 bobbins of black, and that's not even counting that I will need bobbins of white to go in between those. I just wanted to get an idea of what I was looking at. So early on in the blanket, it won't be such a big deal. But pretty, you know, when the more north I get onto the blanket, working my way up from the bottom, the more bobbins I'm gonna need. So that's cool. You know, I guess I was just thinking about it. I realized I guess I could have worked it from the top down. I guess there's no reason I couldn't have. Nothing was stopping me from it. I just literally got to my color change and then decided to think about the color changes, realizing I wasn't going to be able to do them the way that I normally do color changes. And at first when I was watching her tutorial of how to change colors, I was like, oh, cool, yeah, that's actually nice. And then she got into the, oh yeah, but if you're changing colors more than once in a row, and I was like, I'm glad that I watched the whole video because I actually was about to turn it off. It was the last thing that she showed when she was showing different things. And I just assumed that when I had more than one color change per row, I was just going to carry it through, you know, work over the other color. But then she was like, yeah, if you work over the other color, you're going to be able to see it through and it's not going to make your picture look as nice. And I'm looking at it going, I have white yarn and I would be working black through. You're going to see black. Like, that's literally the, you know, harshest contrast of color that I could possibly have. And I don't want there to be like a visible black string in my white. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do the bobbins. What I'm working with for this is I had bought big jumbos of Red Heart Super Saver in white, black, and yellow. Because I don't have it on the graph, which is something else I'm actually going to need to make sure I figure out before I get further into this planning phase of bobbins and whatnot. But he actually wants the background. I think the background. I'm going to need to ask him because I actually cannot remember if he wanted the background in the fist or in the circle to be yellow or outside of the circle to be yellow. I just realized if he wanted outside of the circle to be yellow, which I think might be the case, that I just worked up the beginning of the blanket in white and this should have been yellow. Oh my goodness, you guys. This is what I get for starting this at 1 a.m. and staying up until like 3 something and then taking a couple hour nap and getting back up. And then I was just like ready to dive back into it now and I'm over here going, what did 3 a.m. Nova do? You guys ever do that? You're like, what did 3 a.m. me do? 3 a.m. me was a different person and she made some mistakes, okay? So this is only actually one project that I'm working on, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll show you guys like what kind of planning I'm working on because I'm actually in like the planning phase at the moment, like for both of these. But I'm also working on my cardigan, which you can see back in the background back there. I finished both halves of it, and I can insert some pictures over here to the side. Let me lean over. So there's plenty of space for me to insert my pictures. I spread it out on a table so I could see what I was looking like. I went until I got the, like, I don't know, would it be circumference of, you know, like my wingspan, or not my wingspan. Oh my goodness. My arms. I call these my wings. That's why I thought wingspan. But like this part of your arm, I worked until I got a nice comfy, you know, enough fabric where like I am going to be able to wear it and not feel like it's tight or anything. I want it to be like a little bit loose and stuff. So I wanted it to be loose on my arms. And then I will work on cinching it down. But anyway, so I'll insert pictures like I said here. And so I worked up the hexagons until I got to the width that I wanted for the arms, at like the armpit level, I guess, of your arm, which is going to be like the thickest part. And I will link below in the description box the tutorial that I used when I was planning my cardigan last time. So what I did was I watched this tutorial all the way through, and it gave me an idea of what I was doing, but I'm not following her tutorial like exactly because I'm making this so that it'll fit me. Yeah. You guys, I need to go make some coffee, I think. I probably should have made the coffee before jumping on here. So I'm making it so that it fits a 5X for reference, and I'm just out here, you know, exposing myself, but I'm making it so that it fits a 5X, which is not something that you see in patterns a lot. I don't know if there's a pattern anywhere that includes up to like the larger plus sizes, but I'm just assuming there isn't and kind of going with it, working at it myself. So I'll include that link in the description though for the pattern that, or the tutorial that I watched, because she's really good at explaining how to figure out like the sizing that you're gonna want, at least for the hexagons. She talks about taking a sweater that you already have and measuring like a certain area, and then you can Okay guys, let's try that again. I got some coffee, and I'm having it in my, all I need is coffee and my dog mug. It's got some little puppy paw prints on it, and this is one of my favorite colors. This is my other favorite color that I was talking about on Favorite Color Day that I really like, and the inside of it is that color too. And I have a new coffee, which I've only tried once since I got it. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I got a new coffee. Put that on my coffee warmer, keep it warm. And it is the Salted Caramel Mocha Starbucks K-Cup. These are called K-Cups if you don't have a Keurig. That's just what their little coffee pods are called. I guess it's like Keurig cup. But I brought it over here so that I knew that I got the name right. But yeah, it's the Salted Caramel Mocha. It is really good. And then I'm having pumpkin spice creamer in it, which actually this was my first time trying it with the pumpkin spice creamer, because I just ran out of my cinnamon creamer, and I just have a little bit of pumpkin spice left in the fridge right now. I prefer it with the cinnamon creamer, but it's still really good with the pumpkin spice creamer. So there's my review on that. Okay, now that I've had a little bit of that, back to what I was talking about. So, for the cardigan, I will link that in the description. I'm trying to remember exactly where I was at in explaining that. But yeah, I've got the halves done, which is, I call them halves, but they're not really halves, for me. They might be a little closer to halves for a smaller person, but for me, they're just, you know, the beginnings of halves. So, I've got those done, and then I figured out, about how much more I need to add to it inches wise, I think, based on, you know, just my own working out the pattern, and, you know, it remains to be seen if that actually comes out right, but I think I've got the inches figured out, which I can include a picture of that also, to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. So I figured out the amount that I need to add widthwise and lengthwise, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work continuous rounds. It's kind of hard to explain because it's folded. Like, even if I brought it over here, it would still be folded. But in the picture that I just popped up, which I also have it in front of me, so it's shaped like an L, you know. Well, here. I don't know if my computer's gonna, you know, or my camera is gonna get all wavy like it likes to do when I put white things close to it. But I'll just work in like a continuous round over this, because this is actually, it looks like it's just, you know, an L shape, but it's actually doubled together, you know, because you fold it all over when you seam up here. This is an arm sleeve, which is already a tube, if that helps you to understand. And then I'm going to work continuously, and I'm thinking I'm going to need to do like 13 to 14 rounds is what I'm guesstimating. I want to get about 10 inches on that. No, that's not right. Oh my goodness. I get on here to show you guys my planning phases, and what I'm actually showing you is my planning blunders. Okay, so if I do 10 inches more, that won't be right for the middle. That'll be right for the bottom because I'm guesstimating like 11 inches added to the bottom, but I only need 13 inches added to the middle, which means that working on each half of it, I would only want to do like 6 inches, and then that would leave me a little bit of room to do a trim still. So I need to change that. Good thing I'm explaining this to you guys. Although I'm sure I would have figured it out before I got to the point of doing it, but you never know. This is why I also like to try to write it out and draw it out so that I see it. So 6 inches, and I thought 13 to 14 rounds was about 12 or 10 inches, so well, we could try 7. No, wait, let's try 5 rounds. I'll try 5 rounds and see if that's about 6 inches. I did have it all like out so I could measure about how big, like how many inches my rounds were taking me to do. But I don't have it all laid out anymore. So I'm gonna do about 6 inches more on those sides, and then that'll put me at basically ready for the trim down the sides of the front. And then I'll just need to add some rows at the bottom to get down to the rest of the length that I want. And then I'll need to finish out my sleeves, make cuffs, make a little bit of a neck cuff, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not focusing on that just yet because I'm not that far into the process. Right now I just want to get the sizing right, and then I'll work on the details of, you know, cinching in and getting the cuffs and trim and details like that. Because when you're a plus size person, working things into a plus size friendly pattern adds a whole layer of challenges that you have to come up with. Because typically even patterns that go up to plus sizes, they don't frequently go up to larger plus sizes. So that is the planning that I'm currently going through with that. And I did decide not to try to include granny squares this time. I have an idea though that I want to try at some point to make one of those and also incorporate like decorative granny squares. Although I might add pockets to that when I'm done. That's like another detail that I'm not to yet, so I'm not thinking about it yet. And I was thinking, like, I am thinking about it, I guess, a little bit, but I was thinking possibly of doing like gnomes, doing those gnome granny squares maybe for the pockets. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do. I might just do like ones that would match it, you know, but I might do like some kind of a decorative granny square, and then I might try adding a hood to it also. But that's, like I said, another detail I'm not to yet. I'm not worried about that yet. I want to get the sizing right, get that all worked up, and then I will go from there. And then I also I was going to work on this right now, but now I need to figure out how I'm going to do the bobbins. Okay, so I am sure that I have some of you guys who have done Graphgans before. How do you do the bobbins? Like, I have one big skein of black yarn, and I figured there was like a pretty good chance I would need to buy more black yarn at some point. But I was just starting out with these giant Red Heart Super Saver ones because they have 744 yards in this. So they are pretty massive. And I thought that that would at the very least get me, you know, really going into it, because it's basically the, you know, rough equivalent of having 2 skeins of yarn. But if I'm having to break it down into like 6 bobbins of black and however many bobbins of white and yellow and stuff, Now I'm like, how do I do that? Like, do I pull a whole bunch of yarn off and wind it around something? And then just like hope that's enough yarn, and if it's not, then I have to like tie on more when I get it when it runs out? Is that how you do it? That's all I can figure. Or if I had like enough skeins to just have another skein for all of them, but there's no way I'm having 6 skeins of black yarn. Blah. Well, anyways, guys, that is what I am working on today, is planning things. I also started a, it's back there, but it's not very far at all, that orange. I started making a bag, which I wouldn't show you guys anyways, I just realized, because it's gonna be for my 13 days of Yarn-O-Ween that's coming up here shortly. I just realized, I think it starts on Tuesday. Today's Thursday. I think it starts this coming Tuesday, so we're actually very close. I kept, like, in my head, I keep thinking, oh yeah, later in the month, and I'm like, oh, it's the 13th. Later in the month is almost upon us. But I've been starting to work on getting things, some of the things prepped for my Yarn-O-Ween videos, because I am making a lot of content for those videos. I'm gonna have, I think, 7 tutorials going on during the Yarn-O-Ween, and projects going on during it, and something new and cool to show you that I have planned out for every day. So I want to make sure I stay on top of those, and that I don't get behind and not be able to do my 13 days of Yarn-O-Ween. So I have quite a bit of things going on. I'm thinking I might set this Graphgan aside for the moment, though, until I figure out how I'm going to be doing the bobbins. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to do that. Oh, by the way, I did do a single crochet foundation chain for this, so that I didn't have to chain and then do single crochets, because like those always come out really too tight for me along the bottom, which I know I could like use like a hook size up or something to combat that, but like these have stretch. These foundation chains have stretch to them, just like a single crochet would. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I've been pretty excited to use that since I figured out how to do it. And I will link the tutorial also for that in the description box. I think it's Gleeful Things on YouTube. I really like her tutorial. It's simple and straightforward. And she shows what she's doing well. So I watched it again to brush up on how to do it, and that's what I did. And I did 128. I did 128 as my width, 128 single crochets. And then I'm doing turn chains when I get to the corners to turn around. And I've got stitch markers every 10 stitches, except for the last set is 8. I think it's this one is 8. Because it's not a solid 130 width, it's 128. There's a little hair on here. And then I have my first stitches also have stitch markers in them. I like to do that when I'm working something back and forth like this, because I don't want to get confused about my stitches and my turn chains, and not being sure if it's like the first stitch or if it's the turn chain, because I don't want my sides to get all wonky. So yeah, that's what I've got going on today. Let me know what you are working on in the comments. It's kind of a Whip Wednesday type of video, but yesterday I did the 31 days of Halloween tag, and got my pocket gnome tutorial out. So I was like, yeah, Whip Wednesday is going to be planning Thursday this week. And I have a lot of like planning phases going on, so I was like, I think we could definitely do planning phases as the theme for this video. Also, let me know what you're drinking this morning, and I am sorry for the chaoticness of this video, as I realized different things while I was filming it. But that's just real life. And I'm not here to try to come across as perfect or having it all figured out. I am a chaotic mess that loves yarn and loves crochet and loves you guys, and we're just having fun and hanging out. So it's a chaotic morning. I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, friends.